Hello, welcome to the Evolve Vets podcast.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Bethany. Together, let's stop revolving and start evolving. Hello, and welcome to the Evolve Vets podcast. Today, we're coming at you live from South Africa. And Anna and I are going to be going through an IRL episode. So in real life, what's been happening for us over the last month, and do a little touch base and an update on where we're at and what we're up to.
So since the last time we had an IRL episode, we were presented with the opportunity to go to Africa and help with a conservation project. So here in South Africa, there is a group of veterinarians, and they take care of the wildlife on all of the reserves. And specifically right now, there's a project going on to help with rhino conservation. And Bethany and I heard about the opportunity. We were totally on board. We said we don't actually know so much about it. We know a little bit, but we'd love to come in person and just learn more. It's very outside of what we usually do in vet med. We're normally in small animal clinics doing emergency, and this is out in the field. We are helping with conservation, which is very different from for-profit medicine. And so being part of that experience, meeting the people who are driven to do that work every day, has been really eye-opening and life-changing. And we're very excited to tell you guys more about it, because Bethany and myself, we're not wildlife vets, but this experience is absolutely something that we would recommend that other veterinarians do, because often we're inspired by all of the animals that are here in the wild and in their natural habitat, right? Like you have your elephants, you have giraffes, lions, rhinos, and they're these mystical animals that we hear about in books since we're children that often inspire us to want to be veterinarians. So to come back and be part of helping those species where they don't have an owner attached to them who's paying for their services has been very interesting.
It sure has been. And so we're actually filming our podcast here live from our chalet here in South Africa, which is super fun. And it's just such an impactful experience. So we can give some high-level background to our Africa trip. And then we have a fun, exciting announcement afterward, and really pumped to tell you all about it. So we started off our trip to South Africa to a very lovely resort called Kiteka. And essentially, it had this beautiful infinity pool that overlooked a watering hole with some beautiful animals. There was a sauna. We did F45 workouts in their wonderful gym. We got massages and really played up the wellness and the rest piece. In order to reset, you have to have that rest and self-care and that wellness component. And us being able to take time to journal, focus on the things that we really love, reset in that way, and also just have a little bit of luxury and people take care of us for a few days after we spend all of our energy taking care of other people, taking care of pets, right? So it's nice to kind of give that self-love back to ourselves. And we went on safari, saw some really incredible animals, just as Anna was describing. And we had leopards, elephants, giraffes. We got to see some lions feeding off of one another. Just a really fun, restful experience there with some incredible food, lovely drinks that they were able to make, and honestly, very incredible service as well, which really makes that experience, to the next level. So if you're ever wondering where to go for a resort-style trip to the Klaseri area or South Africa area, that's definitely a place we would recommend.
The entire theme of the hotel, and I'm a hotel person. I love hotels. It's like one of my hobbies, I would say, is hotels. So this hotel in particular, or lodge, Kiteka, has two components to it. It's safari and wellness, and it's an experience. And so they really do focus on experience, just like we do in our day jobs at Veg. It's very experience focused. And so they go above and beyond to care about the little details when you're staying there. But overall, the experience, you're going to get a mix of animal experiences and then wellness experiences. And for Bethany and I, it was a really nice balance, because if you've ever been on safari or you've been in Africa, or maybe you've been on one of these trips where you're working with the animals, like you're getting dirty. It's long days. It's hard work. And even on a safari drive, it can be pretty exhausting. You have early mornings and then late nights. And so to be able to take time in the afternoon to care for yourself and have some downtime, we felt like was a really nice balance and is some inspiration for when we go ahead and launch our Evolved Vets retreats, which are coming soon. Yay.
And then the other part of our trip was going and doing the dehorning process and really giving back to animals in a way to help conservation. So rhinos, black rhinos specifically, are on the endangered species list, and they have challenges with poaching here in all throughout Africa, including South Africa. And it's so emotional to meet people who work with these animals every day. And whether it's somebody on the anti-poaching unit who dedicates their time and energy all hours of the day, patrolling and making sure these animals are taken care of, to the veterinarians who spend, we're waking up at 5 a.m. to get out to be with the rhinos during times where it's cooler, the environment is ready for them. And sometimes we get all the rhinos right away and we're dehorning quickly. And then sometimes we're sitting out there for 12 hours waiting for the right rhino to come up and for that process to start. And so I think from my perspective, just feeling a lot of honor and respect for the people that are sacrificing their time and livelihoods, and really just the dedication that comes to these rhinos, which is really incredible. And the process is very well thought out, very organized. There's a lot of logistics when you go. There's, a straight wing plane that circulates the area looking for where the rhinos are located. And then there's a helicopter that hosts the veterinarian where they're able to apply drugs from that helicopter. And then, we have the ground team. So veterinarians in each truck, when the animal falls asleep from the sedation and the immobilization protocol, we are able to run out to the rhino and actually do the procedure of the dehorning. We'll microchip them, make sure if they have any infections that we'll give them some medications while we're out there, monitor their immobilization, anesthesia. And it's just really an incredible process. I think for me, it's been so many emotions that go through your mind as you're working through this process. Like, one is, respect for the people that do this on a regular basis. And then you have like the heartbreak that comes from these beautiful, magnificent animals and thinking about them, losing their life. And then there's this anger that comes from thinking about them being harvested over their horns. And I think there's also a part that's like a little bit tough for us, that we don't want to have to sedate these animals on a regular basis. And so, maybe it's like controversial feeling where, that if humans weren't being greedy and poaching these animals, we wouldn't have to be sedating them in this way on a regular basis, because these rhinos, their horns grow. It's keratin, so it grows like hair or fingernails. And so the goal is to trim their horns at least every 2 years. And, putting an animal that's a wild animal under sedation on every 2-year basis is not something we want to have to do. And so I think there's like a type of sorrow and controversy, at least for me, that shows up as we're, going through the process. And then I also think there's like a sense of hopefulness, because this dehorning process has been able to make a true impact and make a true change for these rhinos. And I think that's the hopeful part, is like our numbers are growing and it is showing to be effective. And it's kind of a multimodal approach, right? Because you have the anti-poacher unit, you have each individual reserve might have something, and then on top of that, but the dehorning is really the thing that is making the greatest impact. So thankful to be a part of this experience. Those are some of the emotions that I experienced. Anna, any other experiences that you thought of or want to add?
Yeah, I think you explained the emotional side of it really well. And then I'll say my business mind was spinning even before I came on this trip, because when I think about the production that it is to dehorn a rhino, it's, and we these are very rough numbers, but it could cost anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 US dollars a week to be able to dehorn rhinos. And maybe you're dehorning anywhere from 80 to 100 rhinos. And you have probably about 30 people involved, more or less, in the procedure. And then you also have the two planes. So you have a straight wing plane, and then you have the helicopter and all the ground teams. It's just it's really a production. And when I initially was going into it, I'm thinking, okay, well, there's the black rhinos are on the endangered species list, and poaching is obviously a problem with white rhinos too. And there's still thousands of them left. However, when we're doing this dehorning procedure and we have this project, we're making a dent in, I don't know, maybe 100 a week. And this is not something that's done year round. It's done a couple of times a year. And so you might have a question of like, okay, well, is it worth it to do that? Is it, I mean, it's so expensive and you're making a small dent. However, once you do it, you realize that if everyone were to make a small dent in some way, it can make a bigger impact. And I think also we're really conditioned, at least I am in the US, to think in terms of production goals or metrics that we need to meet in the hospital, or how can we get more cases to come in, and how can we grow the ACT so that it's higher and that the business is more profitable. And so everything is measured in these sorts of monetary numbers. But when you're doing conservation work, it's completely different. There's a different motivator there. Your success is measured in the impact that you're making. It's measured in the number of lives saved. It's measured in doing your part in protecting a species so that you don't see them in your lifetime become extinct. Because that's real. This happened with several species. In our lifetime, we've seen them go extinct. And that's super sad. And so it took a little bit of reconditioning when we were here to see, what is the why? Why are people so passionate about doing this work and doing their part in making a small dent to make things better and save these species?
Yeah, it's an incredibly empowering experience in it. And Anna and I, with the retreats that we're releasing through the Evolve Vets, we really want to make sure our retreats are helping animals in some way and getting you those opportunities to reconnect with animals and having those moments of what is the real impact here? What is the real why? And sometimes those why aren't, necessarily thinking, monetary value, like you were describing, right? The why is about really saving that species and really making an impact in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's really healthy to do it an experience like this as a veterinary professional, because we initially become veterinarians because we do want to help the species and we want to help the animals. Oftentimes, veterinarians are not drawn to this career path because of money. But then in, United States, UK, some other places, it becomes a little bit more about that money, especially with the pressures of student loans and other things. But to come out here, I think gives us some reflection time to take a step back and reconnect with our meaning and just kind of get out of the busyness and the focus on hustle culture in the United States, and really be patient, because a lot of the work too is hurry up and wait. And so the first few days when we were going out on these missions, and we would, the actual procedure of sedating the rhino and then trimming down its horn and kind of the other things we do to make sure that we're taking care of this rhino takes maybe 10-15 minutes, like that part. But it's a full day. You're working till maybe 3 p.m. And so you have a lot of breaks in between. And during those breaks, I found myself being like, oh, I need to work on some work, or I need to do that. Like we have downtime. Like this is costing veterinarians time. This is costing everyone on the ground time. It's more helicopter time. It's all of the things. But the folks here who do this every day have learned how to have fun in the moment, whether that's having good conversations with the people around you, or it's playing frisbee, or it's having snack time. Whatever that is, they are much more easygoing and have a pace that feels a little bit healthier here. And that took some getting used to, at least for me. So I thought it was refreshing in that sense. And all of this to say, Bethany and I, we had this opportunity pretty last minute, and we're yes people. And so, of course, we said yes. And I think that it's really inspired us for the types of experiences that we want to create for veterinarians, the people listening, and others, there are different types of trips that you can go on as a veterinarian. There's trips that you can go on to get medical CE. Those are pretty common, and Bethany and I do those and love them. And then there's trips like we went on that are exclusively focused on conservation work for a week, and you're getting down and dirty, and you're figuring out what it's like to live that sort of life. If you're a conservation vet and doing your part, and then there's nothing like in between. We want to create an experience that Bethany and I would love to do and sign up for as veterinarians. We want to create that for you. And so the Evolve Vets retreats are going to be a time where you'll go on a trip. Maybe it's 4 to 5 days, and it'll be a small curated group of women, probably anywhere from 8 to 12 people. And we'll be staying at a nice, luxurious place, and you'll have a component of wellness and learning. And so there will be opportunities to learn skills in emotional intelligence, communication, business, depending on what it is. We'll have offerings like yoga, meditation, healthy foods, opportunity to hike or do some sort of exercise, and teach veterinarians about why it's so important, how to incorporate that into your daily life. And then on the flip side, we want to have a nice balance of animal experiences. And we don't think it would be a complete veterinary retreat without that. And so whether we're coming back here next summer to come to Africa and do this type of experience, and we'd have, maybe 1 or 2 days of going out with the wildlife veterinarians and doing this type of work, we think that you can actually get a good feel for what the type of work is like. And if you're interested, or if it fills your cup to spend a few days doing that. But it can be pretty exhausting to do it every single day for 5 to 7 days on a trip. So we're going to create a nice little balance for people so that by the end of this retreat, you're feeling completely transformed. You're rested. You don't have to go back and take a vacation after your vacation. So we're really looking forward to having these experiences and reconnecting vets with their why, because there's a lot that we can do online to come together in community and learn, but there's nothing that replaces the magic of what happens when you're in person.
Absolutely. I think the community piece is huge, right? We have a ton of people who've signed up for our online offering and joined our online membership, and that's incredible because the community starts there. But leveling up that community experience through in-person experiences, memories forming, and in addition to that, you're getting these really open and vulnerable conversations with women who are veterinarians from all over the globe that are just exceptional and so fun to learn from. And I think it also is very humbling because you get to see how everybody's path is a little bit different, but there's no right way. It's just whatever felt right for that person. That openness is huge. And then also that no matter where you're at in the world, we all might be struggling with something very similar, whether it's burnout or anxiety or perfectionism or being a high achiever and the pressure that you put on yourself and those around you, trying to control things. Like those are all things that we teach on our membership and solve for within our membership through transformation and connections. And it's cool being in one location where you get to see a lot of people going through those same things and then building a space for them to work on that together. So with our retreats, our goal is going to be bring people together. Let's reset, start from scratch, like have that massage, have that meditation period, reflect on the past. What brought you to vet med? Why are you here? What's the thing you want to learn? And then also reconnect, like Anna's saying, reconnect to your meaning, reconnect to the animals, reconnect to the community that we have. And those will be the 3 goals of all of our retreats. And then, of course, all the amazing things that Anna said about having animal experiences, having a luxury component that really makes you feel taken care of and celebrated.
Okay, so in our IRLs, we apply the method that we teach to everyone who's in our community to our lives, and you can see per Bethany and I's check-in. So Bethany, can you talk to us a little bit about how you've been applying the Evolve method lately with doing the meditations, the elevations, and integrations?
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to share. Lately, the big thing that I have coming up for me is through working throughout the process is really deciding like what is the next thing that I want? Like, what's the next level up, right, for my life? And this year, as I was kind of reflecting at the end of the year, coming into the beginning of the year, it's been a lot of self-reflection about, setting good boundaries and getting more clear about how I want to be spending my time, making time for things that bring me joy. And as you know, one of my core values is adventure. So travel definitely falls into that list. I'm also an innovator, love coming up with new things, whether that's business things or innovating in the field. And so it's been really cool to apply our process to some really core things that I'm looking for in my adventure category. So at the beginning of the year, when I was writing out the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to write out 3 things. And I had 3 places in my mind that have really stood out of like, okay, these are the places I'm feeling called to go this year. And funny enough, the first one was actually South Africa. I've had a ton of just pinging about South Africa, like wanting to go back and re-experience the animals. I did a study abroad trip here during vet school, actually. And so being able to come back and reconnect with these animals has been huge and was something that was calling to me at the end of last year. The other 2 things, which actually one of them has kind of come to life on this trip, was a trip to either Bora Bora or the Maldives, like somewhere that has these beautiful crystal blue water and then a bungalow over. And we actually met somebody here on this South Africa trip that is moving there. And she's actually given us an invite to come down and spend time with her and actually experience that. And then the third one is a trip to Bali. I had a plan to go to Bali back in 2020, and unfortunately that got canceled. And so Anna and I have been planning the last few months on going to Bali as well. And so those are the 3 things that I've been manifesting in my adventure category as far as the travel side, of course. And so it's been really fun to see these come to life. Even if they're last minute, it's a full body, hell yes, because those are things that have been pinging and calling to me. And the universe was saying, there's going to be something for you in South Africa. Be ready for this random opportunity to come up last minute. And sure enough, when it came up last minute, I know you had to work to change around some shifts. I had to work to shift some things around as well, since it was, a little bit quick turnaround time. But because those pings and those thoughts had been coming to me, and it was on the list of things that I was really striving for manifesting this year, it was an obvious yes when the question came up of, hey guys, do y'all want to go on a trip to dehorn rhinos in South Africa? It was an automatic yes. Let's find a way to make it happen. And because we said yes to that, we've had some awesome podcast interviews. We've gotten to work with white rhino, black rhino, African wild dogs, all these incredible animals and unique species that we wouldn't have had that opportunity to. And because we said yes to this, it's actually opened up a door for us to go to the Maldives at the end of the year too. So I think part of our method, right, is not only, healing the past for anything that might be there or, really envisioning that next step, but then it's also like taking that action to move things around to show up, because if we hadn't made it to South Africa, we still wouldn't have that opportunity to go to the Maldives, because we wouldn't have met our awesome friend Selena, who we've met here on this trip. So it's kind of funny how you have to dance with the universe, and it's a lot of different steps that take you to be there, but it's that all full body knowing that says hell yes and let's go for it.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. I think it's a great story to share, and it showcases that if you're listening to the universe, you're getting these downloads of, okay, this is the next right step for me, and then you take the action to do that thing, then the universe will reward you and you'll continue to level up. And so I would say the same thing. And oftentimes, like, we'll be really real when we get opportunities like this, or when this opportunity came up. It sounds amazing. Of course, travel is one of my 4 core values, but I was also moving. Me and my husband were moving from New York back to Texas this literal same week. I had most of the week blocked off because we have major move going on. And it was not easy to make the decision to come and figure out how to move around my shifts and work multiple shifts in a row. And just, I have a completely crazy schedule. And So to be able to make it happen and be here and like find the tickets last minute and spend all that time before preparing the house, packing, and then leaning on my husband, Ashley, who's been amazing and is, back in New York right now, packing everything up and preparing to go. It's obviously hard, right? Like I don't get to be there in the last moments of us saying goodbye to our house. And I had to reschedule with a lot of people that I had plans with to see before I left. And so I think you do have to really tune in and listen to that nuance of like, what is it that you want? Like, what is the truest thing that you can do? And it's not always going to be easy. There might be some barriers and roadblocks in the way to get there. But of course, it's been amazing. I think the big insight for me, this is really helping to move forward the Evolved Vets because, yes, we've always been planning retreats, but it's become crystal clear the type of retreats that we need. They're not just, spa getaways that we're creating for veterinarians. It's something that we want to show veterinarians that conservation isn't something that only certain veterinarians do. It's actually something that every veterinarian should play a role in and needs to play a role in because we're the advocates for animals who can't advocate for themselves. And yes, we work with dogs and cats on the regular, but I think it's important that we volunteer some of our time. A lot of other professions do that. So like what is the time and energy that we can give to something else that maybe doesn't have that immediate monetary reward? And so part of our experiences will be doing both of those. And this trip has helped to crystallize that the conservation and wildlife work is not so far away. It's not hard to do. This is not a once in a lifetime trip that we're on. This is something that we want to open the doors to so many other veterinarians so that they can have this really moving experience as well.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's awesome. So another really exciting thing that Anna and I have to share with you all is we actually have an app that is released for all of our members. So when you join the Evolved Vets membership, you can actually go log in, do anything from take a CE course or practice a meditation. If you're on a busy shift and need to practice a pre-surgery anxiety meditation, it's all downloaded right there for you by yours truly right here. And with that, you also have community, right? So anybody in our community you can reach out to, connect with, develop those relationships with people all across the globe. If you're interested in joining the membership, you can actually log into evolvevets.com and go to our membership page where you can join and have access to this. So that will be one call to action. And then the other is if you're interested in these retreats, please go ahead and sign up on our email waitlist.
We want to share a little bit more about the membership and why we created it and what you can expect as a member. So we do have our founding members already practicing and doing this work in the app. And we're so grateful to all of our founding members for believing in us from the beginning and trusting, taking this leap of like, what is this? What is this stuff that you guys are teaching? And, these new conversations that are happening, it's not like anything else that is currently out there right now. And we're grateful that our founding members have signed up and that they're doing this work with us. And every step of the way, we're learning something new. We're talking to all of our members to figure out what feedback do you have? What is it that your goals are for the year? And how is this membership going to support you in those goals? And we have a number of different goals of people who are in the membership. And so some people, they're going through a really hard time right now and they're having trouble balancing doing their job with giving time to their partner. And that can be really confusing and hard because you love your job and you want to go and be above and beyond there. But then you also want to give the time and attention that you need to your partner. And so this person is looking for accountability in the membership and looking for a way to kind of get to that next level and figure out how can she give the energy that she needs to those things that are most important to her. And then we have some other women who are really excited about the inner child work. And maybe they haven't done much of that before. And it's something that they want to dive deep into because maybe they have a child of their own and it's coming to the forefront. Or maybe they just are realizing that they're getting triggered by a number of different things and they need to kind of go back in time to to figure out what they need to heal. And so our membership guides you through a ton of inner child work to heal those past traumas. And we all have there's oftentimes 1 to 3 really foundational big blocks that we all have. And those things are in our subconscious. And maybe stories that we told ourselves when we were children. And they continue to sort of manifest in the way that you show up and interact with other people. And so we'll go back and do that work. And then we have women in the membership who they are excited about the community aspect. They want to network. They want to grow in their career because they're already leaders, very experienced medical directors. We have quite a few in the membership, and these ladies, they have figured out how to be a veterinarian, find some balance, but then they're saying, okay, I want more. I feel like I'm called to leadership, and I love the leadership piece, but now I am learning how to give feedback to others in a kind way. Or, maybe I don't have great boundaries and I'm spending way too much time at the hospital and I'm not giving enough to my family. And then we also have other women who are joining because they want to make more money. It's totally fair, right? Like we deserve to do that. And so what are ways that you can kind of start to detach your time from money? What are other opportunities in vet med and leadership to maybe be an advisor or take an alternative career track? And then we have other women who are maybe stuck at their jobs and feeling unsatisfied and thinking, there's got to be more out there. Like, this is not checking the boxes for me, not happy going to work every day. And, maybe it's okay. There's some good things, but like, I think I deserve better. I think I can do better. I think I can be happier. And so these are just a few examples of women who are in the membership. And if any of this sounds like a situation that you might be going through, then we'd love to support you. And if there's something else, then, please reach out to us. And the nice thing about us owning this business and this content is that we can constantly evolve it and develop it so that it's suiting the needs of the women who are in the community, because we're all learning together.
Absolutely. I'd say another key demographic, or we're seeing these high achievers that have this anxiety that is building and it's crippling, whether that's not being able to sleep at night or not being able to let things go. It's almost this high achieving perfectionistic tendency that we're also helping people through. A lot of veterinarians are type A, right? We, on the outside pretend that everything's great and perfect and fine. But if there's even a hint of you that says maybe I could do this a little bit better, or maybe I could do this with more ease and give up control even more than I already am. And is there a way that I can do that thoughtfully with respect to myself and the people around me, and not only giving up that control, but also really getting yourself to a place of what's next, right? So Anna and I have been doing this work for 7 years. We've developed our own process, and you have to have a growth mindset. We're attracting women who have a growth mindset and want more. And it doesn't mean that you're not content with where you are. Anna and I would have been totally happy and content with our lives if we hadn't gotten this trip to South Africa. But because we're doing this process and we're manifesting these things, this trip came through and it's bringing to light more things on the back end. So even for people that are joining, the CMOs that are interested in joining our community, right? It's that growth mindset of I can always learn more. It's not, I've made it, And so I think, at times as we've been talking about the membership to people, it's, well, how's this going to help me? I'm already a leader, or I've already made it. My life is fine, right? But how do you push your life from fine to extraordinary? Yeah. And beyond things that you could even dream of. When I was writing down South Africa, Bali, and the Maldives, I had no reason to write those down, and I had no way of knowing how it would come to life. But because we were manifesting those things, they've come to life in this way. So how can you do the same for your life, and how can you really level up? And so we can level you up at any stage. And I just think that that's a really key thing to highlight. Whether you're a vet student, we also have had some vet students in our community, right? You're a vet student just trying to understand your grades and comparing yourself to others. But no matter what level you're at, we can level up in a way that is true to you, authentic, and kind.
Absolutely. The other thing, we have supportive tools in the app as well within the membership. And I've been using one of them in particular because I've been working a lot of shifts lately. And the other day when I had to work 5 shifts in a row, that was my choice, by the way, I started to get emotional on the last shift, and I had a really tough euthanasia for me. I don't often cry in my euthanasias. I mean, I'll get sad for sure sometimes. I think the more attached and involved you get to the case and the people and the pet, the more emotional it is for you. And this is, I mean, every veterinarian can empathize with this and goes through this struggle regularly. But everything came in before I was about to switch over. I was day shift and the night shift was coming in. Everything came in at the exact same time or within the hour right before I was going to switch over. And it was 3 really intense cases. So there was a cat that was accidentally in the dryer for 5 to 10 minutes. And there was a dog with heat stroke. And then there was a cat that was hit by the neighbor's car. And this poor man wanted to do everything for his cat. Everything. I mean, he was about to spend $30,000 on multiple specialty visits for his cat. And his cat was like pretty normal on the front end. But once we started running all the diagnostics, we learned that there were multiple pelvic fractures. There was a ruptured bladder. There was the hock joint was like open and showing and exposed and had all this grit in it. And just a number of things that when we thought about it, each of those things, maybe you can fix a few of those things on their own. But when they're all together, it's not to say that it's impossible to fix, but it would be quite a long road and there's no guaranteed outcome. And so having that conversation with the owner who was willing to do everything, and of course the circumstances are so sad. It was like a neighbor who accidentally hit his cat. It's you have to take into consideration a lot of other things. This man was about to get on a plane that afternoon. He was about to be gone for 2 weeks, and the cat was indoor outdoor. And so there's so many factors. And that was a really tough case on me. And I really just started to empathize with him. I think I was also tired. And so my emotions were a little bit higher, but it was a tricky case. And so after that, and then you have all the other cases who are there too that are also critical. And so when I was starting home that evening, I really needed the meditations that we have in our app. And so I put that on in the drive home so that I could just kind of come to terms with like, it is okay to be sad. That was a sad case. It was really sad. I'm really sad for that man. I'm really sad for the cat. I'm really sad for our team who cared so much about this cat. And to be able to let go of those emotions and then think of, okay, well, and also I will say it's very sad when someone leaves and they leave with no pet and they leave with a $3,000 or $4,000 bill, whatever it was. I don't remember what the bill was, but several $1,000s and no pet. That is one, that's hard for the customer to receive, but 2, that's really hard for me as a veterinarian to charge for that stuff. Of course, my logical brain knows like we needed to try everything. We needed to run those tests. It was the right thing to do. And the owner needed that clarity to know that those tests had been run and that we tried everything. And so I think that was important to him, but it's still sad. And so it is okay to be upset about that. And then from there, how do you kind of prepare yourself to get your mind right to go home and then be with your family? And so because of that, and I stayed late and my sister was in town for like 1 day. So I barely got to see her and, just talk to her in the evening before I flew out. And all of that together, there's a lot of emotions there, right? And so those situations happen frequently and you need a way to handle that on your own to a degree. Because yes, there are people that you can call and vent to. And I do that to my husband all the time or my mom or Bethany. And that is helpful, but you also need to know how to self-regulate and regulate those emotions. And so if you're driving home, if you need to cry and then you need to, count the things that you're grateful for on your shift or at home, do those so that you're not taking work home with you, because our job is emotional, period, but you have to have boundaries. And so we give you tools to be able to help with very specific situations just like that.
Absolutely. I'm really sorry that you went through that experience. I know it can be really tough. And thanks for being open and vulnerable and sharing that as well. I think a huge part when it comes to this work that we do is Like, think about us 7 years ago when we first started figuring all this stuff out. We would just call on Vit to everybody because it felt like a way to process. And then, like, I'm proud of you for being able to have that growth of, like, I'm not going to pick up the phone and admit I need to self-soothe. And having that internal regulation is part of the work that we do. And it makes you show up for your people, your team better. Like, just take that 20 minutes to yourself, honor that emotion. I was feeling sad, and that's a normal feeling. And like, I need to cry it out, and really giving yourself that space. I'm really proud of you for that. And it's just a lot of progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we get a little bit better every day. And so there's no end goal that like we do all this work and then we get to a place and then we're done. Right. It's we constantly are just learning tools so that we can self-regulate and show up better for people, better in our lives, and find more fulfillment. There's not some set balance that you have to be this amount of sad and this amount of happy. And how can you just clear all of the really heavy emotions so that you can allow a little bit more lightness and joy into your life?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in shedding some of that and letting go of those emotions, learning how to honor those emotions, learning how to self-soothe, learning how to level up in whatever way or whatever, I guess, like demographic or type of person that we were describing, if any of that applies to you and you're interested, grab an accountability buddy and go to evolvevets.com where you can join our membership and be on the lookout for more information on our retreats.
Absolutely. And then one last thing is if you are looking for some accountability or you have a goal that you want to crush this year, our membership is kicking off it'll be in the summer, so probably first week of June or so. We haven't set an exact date yet, but we'll let everyone know on social media. But we will have our first summer evolution. Woo! And we're so stoked for this. This is where the magic happens. Everyone in the program together will do about 8 weeks of work together. And the theme is finding your authentic values. So it's the summer of authentic you.
Until next time, let's stop revolving and start evolving.